we have to talk about the Great Reset. That is, after the pandemic has devastated us economically, after the economic crash that we have suffered, great leaders are saying as much as it is a crisis, it should also be an opportunity. In other words, we can rebuild the world better. We can be more inclusive. We can include women. We can alleviate and, in fact, eradicate poverty. We can be a green planet all over again. In other words, the reset is resetting the development model, resetting the understanding of development, and resetting the way technology can deliver us. Let's take each of these points separately and look into them in some detail. The first reset is about the economic model, that is capitalism, market system. You know, by and large, companies work for maximizing the value of the shareholder, their performance, their wage policy, energy policy, resource policy, employment pattern. Everything hinges on the overriding consideration of maximizing shareholder value. In the process, there can be human exploitation, there can be degradation of the planet, and there can be diminishing of employment intensity. And none of them works for the stable future of the people and the planet. If you recall, there has been talk about PPP model, that is planet, people, and profits. The same has come back in the form of compassionate capitalism earlier. Today we talk of stakeholder capitalism where everyone is a stakeholder. Not only the employees, the shareholders, the suppliers, and the management. People at large are shareholders. The planet has to be sustained. So from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, that's a first reset. The Great Reset, the first aspect. The second dimension is, we are warped. We are not very sophisticated and sensitive about understanding what is development. We think GDP is everything, but we need to reconceptualize development. GDP is a very gross measure of economic growth, and that can be at the expense of people and planets. And that is going to ruin everyone in course of time. Therefore, so many other measures have been offered to quantify development. There are so many happiness indexes there, social progress index is there, green GDP is there. Recently, we have come across in the Harvard Business Review article that while you are expressing GDP, the country should express GDP 1, GDP 2, GDP 3, GDP 4. Or, in a much shorter way, G1, G2, G3, and G4. G1 is your GDP, which is very simple to measure, and it gives you a broad overview. But one inherent limitation of GDP is that gross domestic product may not be green domestic product. So, you must see how much of environment has been washed off in the construction of the GDP. in a given period of time in a certain territory. And that has to be factored out, and your G2 has to be expressed. G3, have women benefited? If they have benefited equally, GDP is G3 and G1 are same. If they have not, G3 will be less than G1. So the inequality has to be factored out, quantified and deducted, and the resulting number is your G3. Similarly, other forms of equality, regional equality, digital equality, social equality, so on and so forth. So once you are very clear about where you want to go by producing goods and services, you need metrics like this for you to go ahead indeed. Otherwise, today it is pandemic 1, pandemic 2, pandemic 3, we are not there. And you have seen the book of Bill Gates which said that this pandemic could be a picnic compared to what's likely to happen in case we don't behave on the green front. So build back better by being green and equitable community participation. Thirdly, how can the Internet of Things, the fourth industrial revolution, after your steam, after your electricity, after your electronics, now we have all the convergence of cyber, biological and the physical in the form of fourth industrial revolution. That should work for people. It should not be at the expense of employment. It should not be at the expense of the large numbers of people. It should be for everyone, inclusive technology. And for that, you need to reset how tech is going to empower people rather than disempower them, marginalize them. So technology should be a boon, not a bane. And we should all work together and change our mindset. The reset should be at the level of the mindset of the people and the leaders. And World Economic Forum talked about the reset mid last year when the pandemic was at its peak. And Klaus Schwab, the founder of the WEF, in the middle of last year, tried to campaign for the Great Reset. And it's been going on. You have seen the articles in the Indian Express and elsewhere. And that is the focus of our talk today. And you have it in the form of a text as well. And this will set you off to reflect more. All the best.